Welcome to the United Anglers podcast with me, your host, Matthew Forshaw. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow so you don't miss any of the up and coming episodes. If you want to send us a voice note, hit us up on the email below. Follow us on all socials, and I hope you like the next episode.
All right. Numero uno. Fucking smooth start.
Mate, that was on the first bit would have been. I'm lucky I got that first sip out of the way. Jesus. Oh, that's not good, is it?
Here we go. Let me get a behind the scenes shot, just in case this ever goes fucking massive. And I'll be like, that was it. We
At the
fucking
start.
did it. There you go. He's on the beers. Fuck yeah. Man.
Yeah, boy.
All right. Couple of these. Yes. Here we go.
All right.
Take one.
Take one. Probably fuck this intro up loads of times.
That's all right. Let's go over it.
Cool. Here we go. You ready?
Born ready.
Matty, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
No worries. So just to explain to the viewers, we're basically at Surrey Podcast Studio, which is my studio, based in Nutfield in Surrey. It's just a little converted old annex that we've turned into a little studio space. And
That's nice, mate.
I appreciate that.
Cool.
Did the slat wall myself.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Pretty well done, to be fair, mate. I'm impressed.
It's all right. And then also, can't not mention Lisa. She did the painting. Otherwise, it would probably be a bit wonky, and or maybe it'd just be white. It wouldn't be that interesting.
Yeah.
So she's definitely helped out.
Yeah, the woman's touch.
Yeah, exactly. Made it look nice. So let's just get into it. You're looking at launching a podcast, which is pretty cool.
Thanks
Hence
to
why
you.
you're here. Yeah, no stress. Yeah, it's nice to.
Giving me a kick in the arse.
Yeah, we've talked about it enough in the
Yeah,
pub and
yeah.
sort of thrown ideas around. Everyone wants to launch a podcast, but you've got a pretty interesting subject matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just get into it. Give us a little bit of your origin story, sort of like what you do for a living, family, interests, stuff like that, and just talk us through where you're at.
Yeah, so obviously, biggest interest is fishing and angling, thanks to my dad from a young age. Live in the southeast, Surrey, and I'm a plumbing and heating engineer, but also work in bathrooms, doing start to finish on bathrooms, tiling and everything. So yeah, pretty involved, but it's nice because it mixes everything up a bit. And yeah.
A little bit of a background there, which is cool. So obviously our background, we've known each other for like 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Time. Yeah, long old time.
Make you feel old.
Yeah, it does, yeah. I mean, obviously our families, we grew up in the same town, our families knew each other, etc. But the main way we sort of bonded was through BMX riding, which is sort of our background. And obviously you still ride now.
Still ride now, yeah. Had cool. a little time out when I had the little one.
Yeah.
As people do. But back into it hard like this year. The trails and that, digging and riding with you and others. It's been a good summer actually. Yeah,
so with regards to like obviously the BMX and stuff, it's sort of like 50-50 with the fishing and the angling. It's like
it's a hard balance actually.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's something I struggle with, but I have to have both in my life, I think, because from a young age, as you know, growing up around Caterham skate park. Been there since day one. That's been going for 25 years now.
It has, yeah. That makes me feel old now.
Yeah, that was like their anniversary actually on my birthday this year, wasn't it? In August. So, yeah.
Do you find the balance hard?
Yeah, the balance hard is, but it's because like I love the adrenaline side of things. Is what I was getting at. Like, I need that in my life, and fishing does give you that adrenaline when you get a fish and a take on the rod. That's your adrenaline bit. Yeah. But it's nothing like flying through the trees, as you know, on like big old jumps and stuff. It's just like an adrenaline, like it's a free drug really.
Yeah. Do you think you've always been into that, like that sort of like, I don't want to say extreme sport or that sort of thing, but like you're saying, it is a bit of a buzz and adrenaline chase, that sort of adventure.
I'm always chasing it. Yeah. And like my wife would be the first one to tell you that like if I can't just sit around, I'm an active person. Like she's like, yeah, just have a nice chilled weekend in. And I'm like,
I need to do something.
Or like, I'm always planning my next adventure, whether that be fishing or riding with you or going up the trails and digging a new jump or tweaking something. Yeah, but it is a hard balance, like, because they both eat up a lot of time, especially when you're digging trails, because you have to make them yourself. It's not like you can just turn up at a skate park and ride.
Yeah. So just to jump in there and sort of explain to the viewers like the type of riding that we do. Obviously, ride skate parks. I've got a real good background in like street riding and stuff, but mainly now we focus on sort of dirt jumps and like what you'd class as like trails riding and stuff. And you're like really active in that now.
Yeah, like loving it. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the spot. Where did it come from? Like who started it?
So a couple of friends that I knew back in the day riding, Pete and Jay and Adam, they started the spot, but I bumped into them when I got back into riding down at Bletchley Skate Park, which is not far from here.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, have you check out how we started digging some jumps up the road? And I'm like, no way, where's that? And they're like, Nutfield. It's like, well, I'll just moving down the road. Like, I'll come and check them out. And that was probably 3-4 years ago now. And went up there and checked them out, and I was just hooked me straight away back into it. Started helping out digging, as you do as a trail rider.
So were you having a bit of a time out from sort of BMX and stuff and like focusing mainly on the angling? Was it, obviously this was before your son was born, so you're like mid-20s and you're like really into the fishing. Is that, and then you sort of got back into the BMX as well?
Back into the BMX as well, yeah. And it wasn't like a set day that I was just like, oh, I'm going to go ride. I think, our friend Tony, who rides as well, we both were just like, oh, do you fancy getting on the bikes again soon? And it was summertime. I think we went up to like New Haven pump track and just pumped around a bit.
Yeah.
It was that one time that just got me back into it. Yeah. Like I say, then we did the same again down at Bletchley, bumped into Pete and that lot, the trail riders. They introduced me to the new jumps up the road. Yeah. And then that was it. I just hooked again. But it's such a hard balance.
One thing I've always wondered is like obviously the jumps that we dig at, the soil is incredible. So it's like a good mix of
the gold.
Yeah. What would you? I mean, you call it gold, but like technically,
gold,
what is it?
So it's like the perfect mixture of clay and sand.
Okay.
So the sand's good for drainage.
Yep.
Obviously, you want drainage because when it rains and that, you want it to drain quick so that in a few days' time you can ride again.
Yeah.
But you want the clay to compact and keep the jumps hard.
Yeah.
So that you can ride them without it, breaking.
So if we talk about like obviously Epsom's almost like predominantly clay, almost like blue clay, and then you've got sheet which is almost like sand, a bit like the old hills and mountains, and it's kind of like the best of both really. So you've got the strength in that sort of clay.
This is such a mad spot.
Yeah, and you say Pete essentially like started the spot, started building, and Jay was involved. Adam Bora as well, which is cool.
Yeah, the guys have smashed it over the years. Like I've just done what I can, obviously. In those years, having a little one and a family, and obviously running my own business as well. You can't always be in the woods digging jumps. It's not.
You got to be doing.
You got to be doing the things that you have to do to make money and everything else, keep your family going. But yeah. It's just an incredible place.
Would you say you're always spinning plates? So essentially you've got your trails, your BMX, which is cool. You're really into your fishing and your angling. You're sponsored for that, which is great. You've got a young family as well. And then also, I mean, can we say you're a tradie? Is that that's not a derogatory term?
No, it's like a cool term nowadays, like tradie. I think I started saying it from like an Aussie podcast that I listened to, and they call us tradies, or they call themselves tradies. It's just kind of like a bit of lingo, like kind of. Yeah, just got used to.
Yeah, but like trying to balance all four of those things, that's like the big things that you're sort of working with. And I guess some days...
I say I'm not going to moan about it. It's like I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
Like I'm a very active person. And I'd just go mental if I,
sat around
doing nothing. Yeah. It's like in lockdown, I wouldn't have been able to survive if it wasn't for doing up my house at that time. Because I was locked in a house. I was like, well, what am I going to do? Like, did my house up. But like I just always onto some sort of project, whether that be a campaign on a lake, fishing for a certain fish, or digging up the trails, making a new jump, or we got a big bathroom job on, and I'm like focused all in
just
on
to
that.
Get it finished,
just to get that finished, get it absolutely mustard with my brother Joe.
Yeah, I've always liked that though. You've got that drive where you're always doing something, which is cool. And I think, obviously you being self-employed, that sort of works quite well, which is good. So the big news, you're going to be launching essentially a fishing. I'm not sure. I've never done fishing or angling or anything like that. I mean,
I'll take one day.
Yeah, one day definitely. But I know someone told me it's second only to football. Like it's massive. It's absolutely
huge. There's a big argument. Yeah.
Is it a sport? It's not a sport. It is a sport.
Massively,
it is a sport. Okay.
Massively, yeah. So you've got match angling, which is like competition angling.
Right.
So you're fishing for the biggest weight of the day. So you catch 100 roach. and
Okay.
then whatever they weigh at the end against the next guy.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
The biggest
Whoever's
weight
got
wins.
the biggest
So that's
weight
like
wins.
it's a
Okay.
big sport in loads of ways. And
Bigger than golf?
yeah, I would say so.
I heard it was.
I
The
would say so,
participation was
because
huge.
It's it's everywhere in every country. There's
Yeah.
someone fishing,
Okay.
whether that be for food or for sport.
Yeah.
You know, there's that. That's where the argument is. It's like football's like the biggest sport in the world,
Yeah, yeah.
but fishing's second because of it's just participated everywhere in the
Yeah.
world.
And then you're hoping to essentially launch a podcast and sort of
Yeah.
give that a bit of a crack and stuff.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, well, that's the big reason. There must be loads of good podcasts
So
out
I
there.
listen to a lot of fishing podcasts and I enjoy them.
Yeah, yeah.
I like they give you new ideas. It's nice to hear someone's story about this certain capture,
Yeah.
that certain fish, and their story and their angling. But I am finding they're all very serious. They're all very which is good if you want that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
There's a time
I
and a
was
place
like-
for
I
that.
thought there's
yeah.
a bit of a gap in the market for. Basically, I just want to create a community where, in the anglers, that like the everyday angler,
Yeah.
like me and my friend George and Jake and everyone, we go to the pub and we can sit there for hours just talking about stories of like
Yeah.
when we were younger and when we were fishing. Like these stories are hilarious. Like
And
there's
you
so
wanna-
many, and I want to spread that
Yeah,
out
yeah.
to the world and to the other anglers and like-minded people. But I also want to hear theirs. Like we've all heard like the Danny Fairbrass story. We've all heard Darryl Peck talk about the same old. Like
Yeah, yeah.
they're great. But we've heard it in videos and in podcasts. Like I want to reach out to the everyday angler, the underground anglers.
Yeah.
Also, I think probably 70% of anglers are tradies
Yeah, yeah.
or in sort of trades, whether they're scaffolders, painters, plumbers,
Yeah.
electricians. You know, and it's that sort of especially carp angling. And I've met some proper characters out on the bank.
Yeah, I bet.
And
yeah,
I think
yeah.
if you could just put a camera, or a secret mic
Yeah,
in
on
front of
them.
these people, it's just like gold again. It's just like, yeah. And I want to try get that going.
and move
Have
it
a
forward,
podcast, like interview some underground anglers that I know
Uh-huh.
and some of my friends, and get some people on that I've got in mind.
Yeah, yeah.
But also have the public maybe voice note in, message in.
That's cool. So like sending questions and bits and bobs. You did mention that and stuff, which is cool.
questions or the things they hate on the bank.
Yeah,
Their worst lost fish or their stories about losing fish or
yeah. Yeah.
it could be absolutely anything or even like when you're talking about tradies, like things that happened on the job,
site,
like
yeah, I can
plumbing,
imagine that,
or
yeah.
there's going to be a lot of like apprentice stories, like
Yeah.
people as you're growing into becoming an electrician or something.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of stories out there, and I think I just want to have it fun. Like-minded
light-hearted.
like-minded people just having a crack
With a
like,
focus on
some,
angling.
like I drive to work and I listen to an Aussie podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's very similar, and it's nice to just have that to listen to where you're not thinking about the stresses of life. You're just listening to this guy tell this funny story.
Yeah.
And it just makes you feel like a bit better. Like sometimes it's just
Yeah.
nice to listen to rather than all the serious stuff. It
Yeah.
is nice to listen to someone's serious carp.
I know what you
story.
mean, because like, say
But-
for instance, I'm on a job. Obviously, I run a video production company, and then I'm driving, a couple of hours or whatever. If you listen to the news, sometimes it's just so depressing.
This is what I mean.
Not that I'm not interested in world affairs and what's going on or politics, because I
Yeah.
am. But there comes a point where it's Tuesday morning, you're thinking, oh, not this again. Or,
Yeah.
the right-wing media, the left-wing media, whatever media you want, are stirring something up. It's not really a story.
Yeah, this is what I
You
found
know?
with the fishing
Yeah.
stuff. It's like I've done my own videos for Gardener Tackle, my vlogs and stuff, and hundreds of them out there now, thousands, and
Yeah.
you've got your proper videos that are from big companies, and you're just seeing the same thing quite a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
It's getting to that position now. Don't get me wrong, there are some new stuff coming out, and there are some real cool videos that we all
Yeah.
love and podcasts, but. I just want to reach out to the people that are up for a bit of a laugh,
Yeah.
day-to-day people.
And I think there's a
Like-
time and a place, because I've seen when you mentioned this in a pub, probably 6+ months ago,
Yeah, winter time.
and we were sort of kicking the ideas around, and it was like, I've seen that sort of niche underground stuff come through in BMX before, and sometimes it's so genuine, it's so authentic. Obviously,
Yeah.
funny stories aside, it's like, it's just new blood essentially coming into an industry, really.
And it jogs your memory as well. Like you'll be
Yeah.
like, I've listened to these Aussie podcasts, and someone will tell a funny story, and then you're just like, that's something similar has happened to me. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you're not even laughing about the podcast anymore. You're laughing in your own head about that funny story. And
Yeah.
And I feel like if it does get off like out there, I feel like there's going to be some pretty good things coming in, hopefully. And I've
like
even
that.
got some people lined up that I think that people will find interesting. And they're not in the limelight. They're not famous anglers.
Yeah.
They're the underground anglers. They're good anglers. You know, they're credited anglers.
Yeah, okay. So they sort of know the deal.
They know the
the industry. Yeah.
A lot of people, like, especially in carp fishing, like to actually stay underground.
Okay.
You know, and just love that underground sort of scene.
Yeah. Yeah, you get that in BMX as well. I remember I used to go to competitions years ago. There was like bike show in Birmingham and like the backyard jams, and some dudes would be sponsorless and absolutely ripping and stuff.
Yeah.
And were not bothered about competition placings at all.
Just
They'd come out. They just were there. They just loved riding a bike, and they were just really
smash
good.
Up the best trick or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just be the underground. But that's also a very British thing, which I've absolutely love. You know, when someone comes from somewhere and you're like, who's this guy? What's going on? And he's just brought something new to the table.
You know Paul Weller.
Yeah.
He's a very he's a sponsored angler.
Is he actually sponsored?
Yeah,
right. Okay.
Yeah, Paul's a sponsored angler, but I first met Paul from riding.
From riding,
you
yeah.
met him.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
Through riding. But
Great rider.
It was only a few years into riding. I think one of us was like, I'm gonna go fishing this weekend. He was like, I fish. And
way.
Then we was like both. Wow, that's like another hobby what we both like, and we started fishing together. That was years ago. But going back to him, he's quite an underground angler, and he likes to keep it underground, keep it quiet.
Okay.
Carp, as the carp anglers would say, carpy. You know, keep it all underground.
Oh, is that the term? Okay.
That's like there's quite a big scene of the carpy anglers and the underground anglers, but they've all got funny and interesting stories to tell.
Yeah. Do you think he would ever come on the podcast, or is that too much of a push?
So.
He might do.
I think
okay.
I could get him on.
Yeah, right. We'll try and bribe him with some beer or something.
Yeah, he actually doesn't drink.
He doesn't drink, right? Okay.
He's
some herbal tea.
Paul's very straight and narrow now.
Is he?
Bless him.
Okay.
But I could probably get him on with some CBD or something.
Yeah, must be able to get him in his
yeah. Bless
Okay.
him. But yeah, I think he'll be keen. I think he'll get him on.
Cool. Yeah. So I've got a few notes here. United Anglers. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Potential title?
Yeah, potentially. There's a few other names kicking around, but there's a lot of them have been done, but not actually for fishing, which I was shocked at because they're kind of fishing names. And then when I looked into them, they're like they've been done some short.
What, like Carp Life or something like that?
Yeah, well, not so much like Carp Life. There was a couple of others, like I think Above Water was one, and
okay,
and then I
that's
looked it up,
good.
and it was not fishing related, but there was another one called Above Water,
into
and
swimming
I thought,
or something.
Damn,
right, yeah, it's already gone.
So yeah, it was actually quite hard. Like as we know, YouTube and podcasting's big. So
yeah. I mean, I love podcasting. One of the reasons I set this up is because I love hearing stories.
Yeah,
and essentially, in a dopamine-fueled Instagram 3-second flick, scroll world, when it's constantly like that, like you, when I'm driving, I get really into stuff, and it's like all of a sudden I'm 2.5 hours into an audiobook or a podcast, and it's like there's real value in that.
Yeah.
And I think if you can bring that with a light-hearted twist, it's worth a go. You know what I mean? Why not have a go and get some stories out there? You're not going to lose anything from it, and the studio's here, so you may as well just crack on and
like you
get
say
some people
about
in.
Driving. I drive something like at the moment. I'm driving pretty much an hour to work every day,
right?
An hour back. So I'm listening to podcasts a lot. I used to listen to just non-stop music. Spotify and stuff, and I still do. I absolutely love music. And I haven't got one genre. I listen to absolutely everything, from country to drum and bass. You know, like
really,
real anything. But I've actually stopped listening to music so much because I'm so into my podcast. I feel like, especially in the morning, we're driving along, sipping a coffee, and it just clears that head noise. Sometimes you've got a bit of head noise going on, whether that be work related, home related, or anything. Sometimes just listening to that like-minded or easygoing podcast, especially the Aussie one I listen to, it's just a bit of a crack, bit of a laugh. And it just sets off your day. It's like, it's not too bad.
It can sort of change your sort of wavelength, can't it? Do you know what I mean? And set you off in a good way, like you're saying. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be fun, which is cool. You touched briefly on being sponsored.
Yeah.
Paul, you said Paul's sponsored.
Paul's sponsored.
You're sponsored as well.
Yeah.
As someone who's new to angling, I know sort of skate BMX sponsorships and how that type of stuff works. Tell us a bit about that.
So, obviously, I'm going to be honest with it. I actually have always it's always been like, once I got seriously into my carp fishing, it was actually always a dream to be sponsored. Like, a lot of people won't admit that. they're like, oh, I don't want to be like it. Just fell on my lap. And
Oh, if I have to.
yeah, kind of thing. But I actually wanted to be sponsored. I was like, that's my goal now. I want to be up there with those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I fish in, and I do it as a hobby and for fun. So
Yeah.
never like, oh, I'm going to get sponsored. I'm just going to let that take it over the fun side of things. But that was the end goal. And obviously just getting good photos. So you buy myself a proper SLR.
Okay.
Learn how to do
Decent images,
decent like still shots of fish.
Yeah.
And then just building an Instagram page, using the tackle, the bait companies, the clothing that I like to use, and just tagging them in it.
Okay.
Plugging away. And I weren't going mental at it, but just keep tagging them, trying to keep consistent.
Yeah.
Doing nice shots and enjoying it along the way. And then eventually, like these people reach out to you.
Yeah.
Kind of notice you as an angler. And they offered me a sponsorship with Gardner Tackle,
Okay.
which I took nearly 2 years ago, I think.
So what do they do? Is it products? They just send through products, or they put you on a trips or anything? Or?
So it's like field testing. So that if there's
Okay.
new products coming out, they'll send you them.
Okay.
And then you obviously put them through the paces over the next few months.
Yeah.
Give feedback. If that new
That's
hook,
good.
if like a new hook pattern comes out or a new line,
Yeah.
and it's not quite up to scratch, you're having problems with this and that.
Yeah,
You give them feedback. They might change that, might tweak it before it goes out to the market, stuff like that. But it's generally just like advertisement.
Yeah.
On like Instagram now. It used to be all in magazines, but magazines are dying now.
It's a
which is
change.
big shame.
Yeah, it's a big shame. I used to love print media, but things have definitely changed.
Yeah.
Some would say for the better, some would say for the worse.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I used to love going down to the shop
Yeah.
and buying the Carp Talk and the local magazines. I've even been in a couple, and I was like,
Right, yeah.
I'd send it in and like, oh, I've made it this month, and like other months you're like, oh, they haven't published it. Like, damn, like
Yeah,
they used to have
yeah,
like
yeah.
a section for like up and coming anglers.
Yeah.
And if you're in that, you're just like, as a
Yeah.
youngster. But you just don't get that anymore. It's just straight onto social media.
It is a different world. Yeah, I've said this before when I've talked about like different industries, especially with like sort of my background in BMX and stuff. And it's like it's a shame because you've lost what I would class as like editors.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is like people who understand the underground, they understand the top guys, and they're able to essentially edit and select what we would see as a video editor, as a magazine editor, as a photographer and stuff. They're able to sort of sift through that, and when you lose editors, everything goes out, which is good because people can just self-publish from anywhere in the world, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
But there's also just an overload.
Yeah. You still can't beat like a good book. There's some like real famous and
Good value,
historic carp anglers who like with like the names back in the day.
Okay.
Who have written books and they're like gold. Like
Are they?
They're so good. Yeah, and you can't beat that sort of print.
Yeah.
But the magazine things has died a death. I think there's only one.
Is there only just one
I
remaining
think
now?
there's only one remaining out.
Wow.
Oh, actually, there's Angler's Mail.
Okay.
And I think there's Total Carp or something.
Okay.
I think they're still going.
Probably
but
just tick
there
over,
was
yeah.
there was like at one point like 5 or 6. Like,
Wow.
Like every week. Like,
This is what I mean. I think like I know
big
nothing about the
magazines.
industry, but
The same as-
honestly,
it's a very similar scene, especially the carp industry
to cycling,
to BMX.
Right,
Like
to
the BMX
BMX,
scene and Paul will agree.
Yeah.
Paul Weller, he would agree. Like they're quite. Yeah, the similar sort of scenes.
similar sort of
I see very like lots of
patterns in them.
similarities and patterns in them.
Okay.
Yeah.
One question I did have was essentially like, say you could go back because you've been doing this, what I wouldn't want to say seriously, but like you've been really enjoying it for what, 15 years, something like that, angling, something like. What age did you start? Longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Longer now. I'd say 15 years for carp fishing,
Yeah.
but for general angling, I'm 34 now. I was probably 8 or 9 when I started float fishing and just going down.
Okay, so I'm
the
really into
vineyards.
it. Yeah.
Vineyards on. You're not actually allowed to fish there anymore, sadly.
Oh, that's
but
a
that's
shame.
where we all cut our teeth or grew up fishing and was just float fishing. Just single rods and whatever we could find in our dad's shed. You know what I mean? Take down there a bit of bread, get the bus down there, and catch little roach like this. And then one of us would like fluke out a bigger carp. And then everyone's like, "What?"
Yeah, just losing it.
Yeah, like losing it. Like, what is this? Like they fight so like 3 times as hard. You know what I mean? And it'll break your line because you're not set up for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone's like, "What's this? Like bloody shark in there?" Like, you know what I mean? Like you're only like 8 or 10 years old or something, and
freaking out, thinking there's some sort of Nessie in the bottom.
Probably been fishing a lot longer. Yeah, it's actually hard to put a number on it, but yeah, my dad started us young.
Yeah.
My dad's a bit of a match angler, a bit of an all-round angler, and he got me into it real young.
Yeah.
And I just
loved it.
Just loved it.
So my question was, what advice would you give yourself? Like, obviously you're 34 now, angling over 20 plus years. Any advice you give anyone who's like 15, 16 and coming up and potentially would like to get sponsored or would potentially like to be a professional or anything like that, or just in enjoyment? Like, is there anything?
Yeah, I would say just make sure you're enjoying it. 'Cause I've seen some anglers.
Yeah.
Some like even close friends like they that really want to get sponsored and it kind of takes over. I've not said it to them, but I can realize that they're like putting themselves under so much pressure every time they go fishing. They're not actually enjoying it for what it is.
Yeah, it's tough.
So I'd probably say make sure you keep enjoying it for what it is.
Yeah.
And stay consistent.
It's funny because I have, like you're saying, the similarities in BMX. I have seen that in BMX where I blew my ACL out in my right knee. And that's a pretty serious injury for any sportsman. Yeah. But blowing my ACL out, even though it was like the worst thing to happen to me, like I'd literally, I think that was like 9 months of rehab, surgery, etc. My appreciation for BMX now is I could just be pottering around on a mini ramp or doing some manuals or something, or riding my bike with my son, and I just love it. Like I absolutely love it. And I don't know if you get injuries in fishing, do you? Really?
Oh, you
do you?
You wait.
Really?
There's some there's some. I mean, I can tell you one fishing France last February, not last February, the February before, with my brother-in-law. We were packing up. We've had a good week fishing. I've actually got this on. This is actually on the vlog.
Okay.
On YouTube, you can go to Garden and Tackle and watch my vlogs. You'll find it on the 4th one, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So we did a little vlog out in France, and as I'm packing up, there was some fish bubbling up still on this certain spot. So I was like, I'm going to get a rod on that quick.
Yeah, yeah.
So I put my rod against this tree, and a twig off of a tree, and I've got my rig in my hand, and as I turn to look and grab something, my rod's fallen off the tree, and it's just pulled the hook straight into my hand.
Oh my God.
It's a barbed hook.
Yeah.
And we're in France, and we're packing up that day, and no joke, in the palm of my hand,
it's just hooked in.
This hook is buried into my hand.
So what'd you do? Just cut it out, or?
So it was pretty savage. I had to. I tried pulling on it, obviously because of the barb, it would not move.
Oh,
and I maybe started to feel a bit sick.
So it's not. It's just one way. It's not coming out.
Adrenaline started kicking in.
Yeah.
And I said to Matt, I'm gonna have to push it all the way through, debarb it, and then pull it back through the other way, which is what I did. I literally gripped my teeth, and just pushed it all the way through, so the barb was out, crimped it with some pliers,
cut it,
and then could pull it back through. But I had to because I was driving home that day. We're in the middle of the Champagne region in France.
Wow.
But that's just one story. But there's loads of stories out there from other anglers falling from trees because people like to climb trees.
Okay.
Because you get a bird's eye view of the lake when the water's gin clear. You can see.
They not just use a drone or something like that, or
not allowed drones.
You're not allowed drones
not everywhere.
Right. Okay.
Not unless you're filming for a video and you've got
permission. Flight. Yeah.
There's a lot of good lakes now, like around Heathrow, Gatwick, and it's near the flight path.
Yeah, that's
there's a lot of rules about drones. You can use them.
Yeah.
But you can imagine how carnage it would be if every angler's turned up. First thing they do is setting up their bloody drone and going looking around the lake. Where are the fish? Like it'd be mayhem. So you're not allowed them. But people climb trees.
I had no idea that it could be that savage. Wow.
Man,
it can be bad.
My mate Till, that I'd love to get on. I call him Till. His name's James.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd love to get him on one day. He's got some good stories. He's a bit of a character, bricklayer.
But
he fell in. There's a lake down the road called the Glebe, which is sadly gone.
Yeah, yeah.
And he fell into a swim, broke his leg. And now that swim was then called after that day. It was then called the swim broken leg. It was like, I'm in broken leg this weekend. But after Till,
because
he snapped his leg in 2 places. Yeah,
wow.
Into a swim. So yeah, there's injuries to be had, mate.
Honestly, I had no idea. I didn't realise it was that bad.
Yeah, it's savage, mate. Like, and
that hook story is horrible.
I know that a lot of like people that pike fishing, like they use little spinners and lures, and they got like 4 or 5 hooks on one rig,
and if it hits
and they're fishing in a boat, and I've seen some savage videos of like they're casting like that, and they go and catch their dad in the back, and then as they're casting, you know.
Oh my!
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah,
That's horrendous.
Obviously, extreme sports like BMX and skating,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
skateboarding and stuff. There's going to be more injuries, but fishing.
But it does happen.
There's some things out there, and this is
Yeah.
what I want to dig into. Like, there's going to be
Yeah, I bet there's some good
if
stories.
the public get involved, and there're going to be some good stories coming in. Like,
I feel like that's a good element because I've seen that in other podcasts where people WhatsApp in stuff or like
Voice note.
email, whatever. Yeah, send in questions and like the general public. Like I've got some pretty funny stories.
and you don't
like
a lot of podcasts is that you don't actually get to hear from the general public. Like,
yeah, true.
not really.
True,
Like,
yeah.
I think it's such a brilliant thing to get the public involved.
Yeah.
Sit there and listen to their stories. I think it's
100%.
gold. Yeah, like.
Right, quick fire. Let's jump into it because I know you sent
yeah.
over some questions. So obviously, as someone who doesn't do any fishing, I'm probably going to pronounce these incorrect. But
No, it'll be right.
quick fire. Here we go. Pop ups or bottom baits?
Bottom baits.
Okay. Do you want to explain why or just not? Nah,
bottom baits.
that's just what it is. Okay.
For now.
What's this? Lead clips or helicopter?
Lead clips or helicopters.
Lead clips, lead clips, lead clips. What are they?
Lead clips is it's basically how you run your weight and your your leisure in weight and that.
Right. Okay. Right. Here we go. Brolly or bivvy?
Bivvy.
Okay. Camo or olive green?
Camo at the moment.
He hesitated.
Yeah, I was olive.
Well, you were.
A couple of years ago, but since I've been sponsored by Spiro, tackle, plug. I'm loving their camo, and
Okay.
their dark camo stuff, and I've got a load of that at the moment. I'm loving it.
Yeah. Here's a quick one, right? Okay. Sharpened or non-sharpened?
Sharpened.
This one is overnighter or weekender.
I'm an overnighter.
Oh yeah.
I don't get to fish many weekends.
Okay,
I have
just because of family and stuff
family
like that.
business.
Yeah. Did you used to?
Used to when before we had kids.
Yeah.
But I savagely fish on like a Monday or Tuesday night. I'll finish work, go down to the lake, set up, fish the night, pack up at like 6-7 in the morning, have a little.
So
scrub
you'll
in the
stay
van.
over on a lake.
Yeah, and then
Is
go
this
back
like
to
a
work.
camping site or?
Yeah,
you just part. You
I mean,
camp.
yeah,
You'll just stay by the lake with all your gear.
Yeah.
What if?
Under a tent and bivvy and you got
What if the reel goes at like 2 a.m. or whatever? You like eyes open, like we're gonna catch this right now, or
Yeah, it's all go, mate. Yeah,
It's all
doesn't
go.
matter what time it is.
Doesn't matter, you're
I'm
on
up.
it.
I'm up.
Okay.
Yeah, get that, and even if you like lose that fish or
Yeah.
catch that fish and put it back out, like those
Okay.
rods go back out at night.
Right.
Bait goes back out, ready for another one. Like
What's the community like?
I've been
Is
to
it-
work sometimes on like 3 hours, 2 hours sleep, next
Because-
to no sleep. Like turn up and the next day.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like
Because you're just
there's a bit
absolutely
on here like I'm gonna struggle today because I've had like a good night's fishing. But if I don't do that,
Yeah.
put myself through that sometimes, I won't get to go fishing.
Yeah.
Not the not the last few years because of having a family. And
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
You know?
How long would you, on average, like go for like? Is it just sort of like 12 hours? You sort of start at 6 p.m., go through till 6 a.m., something like that. Sort of stay somewhere, or do you do?
It's normally just straight
What
after work.
days?
Yeah, so 5, 6 o'clock in the
Yeah.
evening.
You think that's
And
pretty
I
normal with tradies? Like people finish work,
A lot of
get off early.
tradies overnighters are a thing, yeah, because people have families, people
Yeah.
have like commitments, and also the weekends can be busy, like really busy.
Yeah.
With everyday.
What everyone
angles.
else is getting out,
But
right?
then I say that actually midweek thing's becoming like a bit of a trend.
Is it?
Yeah,
Bit like
back in the
Thursday
day when
night
I used
thing.
to do overnighters, you'd be like the only one on the lake. And some fisheries, some syndicates, if they're low stocked and like only have a few members, you still get that. You go down on Monday night, you're the only one on the lake.
Right. Yeah.
But a lot of syndicates now, where they have more memberships and stuff, they're becoming like day tickets where you go down there on a Monday, Tuesday night and the bloody lake's full and you're like, what the hell? Like, and
Yeah.
then you go there on a Saturday and there's only 3 people on. You think it's almost like flipped. Like everyone's going for the overnighter because it's like a big edge. It used to be like a big edge to go
Yeah, yeah.
get there when no one else is there.
Okay.
After the weekend rush. if
Yeah,
that makes
yeah, yeah.
sense. But now it's like the other way around almost. So yeah,
Trends, isn't it?
Like,
Changes, yeah.
It's almost like this is what I love about carp fishing.
Yeah.
The game is always changing.
Yeah. It sounds like I've seen this.
We're
sort of
always
stuff
trying to perfect our rigs, perfect our bait, perfect our skills
Yeah.
to beat the carp, beat the fish. And in 1 minute you've got it right and you're catching and you're fucking like,
Okay,
I've
you're on
nailed
trend,
this.
yeah, you
go
got
to
it.
another lake, that don't work. You have to.
So it's lake specific.
Lake
or...
Pacific
Is
or
it-
season Pacific, or it could be monthly. It could be
gonna ask.
weather.
Yeah.
Like or certain fish don't take to that sort of style of tactic.
Does the moon ever affect it or anything?
Moon
it?
phases.
Yeah.
Like this week, there's been the last super moon
Okay.
of the year, which is the harvest moon.
And is that good or bad for fishing?
It's good. Like
it's good.
Basically, the full moon or leading up to a full moon.
Yeah.
Is like it's like whenever all like what we call like big carp anglers.
Okay.
They want to go out because it's actually like. If you look back in captures on certain lakes, those big girls or big boys out of the lake will come out on those full moons.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's to do with
certain trends and patterns people are sort of seeing.
But I think there's a lot. I mean, you go right into it, the science and all that. But
I could imagine, yeah.
There's moon phases, low pressure, big weather fronts and stuff. A big thing in fishing.
Bit of a random question, but you ever seen any ghosts or anything like that? But you get right freaked out on a lake on your own.
You know what? I've freaked myself out loads of times on lakes, especially when you're there on your own and certain lakes have a certain feel. A certain vibe, and you're in the woods, and it's like some swims can be quite like you're thick in woods, and you turn your lights off, you can't see a foot in front of you. It's that dark, so you can freak yourself out quite easy if you get out for a wee in the night or something. But I've never seen a ghost or nothing. No,
it's not for the faint-hearted. This, my man.
No, I mean but you get used to it. It's almost nice in a way. You just feel like you're out there on your own, but you can if you get into your own head. You can freak yourself out.
Okay, cool. So. You spoke about it briefly earlier. You essentially want to try maybe WhatsApp voice notes, some sort of phone-in thing. I know you've got a couple of samples.
I have got a couple of samples.
Can you play them out to us? Can we have a listen?
The first one is my mate George that I'm hoping to get on the podcast.
I know George.
Yeah. You know George. He's a character.
He is a character.
He's a good underground angler as well. He's caught some decent fish, like known fish. So he could dig into that, but also have a bit of a laugh.
He's fairly well respected. He understands the game.
He understands the game. He's been fishing as long as I have.
Yeah, he said he was out in France a little while ago.
Yeah, went out to France. We could talk about that. He had a mega trip out there. So, yeah, we want to get him on. And basically, the other day I just sent him a voice note saying, "What's the biggest thing you hate when you're out on the bank?" Simple question, and he's replied with this.
What did he say?
He replied,
"All right, mate. I have a pet peeve, and that is fucking litter. It's a fucking piss take, and specifically fag butts. The easiest shit to take home, throw it in a bin. It just pisses me off beyond anything else. Litter and fag butts."
I see that. I hear that.
Mate, I hear it. Like, the amount of times I've been into swims, you go into swims, especially on a busy day ticket, and you go in there and you set up, you're all good, and you're setting up camp, and you look on the floor and there's fag butts everywhere, and you're just like...
And you got to set your tent up around that.
Obviously, George didn't mention, but tea bags. People leave like a pile of tea bags.
Oh, what the hell?
It's like, just take it home, boys. Like, don't be a grub. Like, think about the next angler. Yeah, like sometimes... Don't get me wrong, sometimes you might tie your bag against a tree and like, in a rush pack up, you might forget it. You know, but people leave litter around swims. Especially, it doesn't really happen on syndicates and membership lakes. Like, they're quite...
When you say swim, is that just like a general public one?
Yeah, like a swim is like the peg you're fishing from.
Okay, yeah, like a little base
the area
where you're
fishing from, and you could go in there sometimes and there's fag butts everywhere, so
it's frustrating,
Don't be a grub and tidy up after yourself. Could
be a bit of an angle there. Maybe we should make bin bags or something.
Well, there are fisheries that have bin bags about, but you know, you can't. There's some people out there that are just lazy or just careless, and you need to get better on that. Especially when you're fishing, you know, you got to respect the wildlife at the end of the day.
That's the other thing as well. I remember I was listening to a keynote at a running festival a little while ago I was filming at, and they said a funny similar thing because they were all into like trail running, like ultra marathons, that sort of like 5, 10, 15k through the woods and stuff. And they said during COVID there was a huge boom. Massive boom. Everyone's going outside, getting involved and stuff. All of a sudden, litter goes through the roof. Yeah. All these lovely little natural trails where all the animals are. All of a sudden, there's Yorkie bar left over. There's cans of Coke. There's cups of coffee just on the side. You get it on
Brighton Beach, didn't you?
Yeah.
Go down to Brighton Beach in the summer and you go there like 5 in the morning. It's just like after like a day of 30 degrees. It's just litter everywhere, and it does like that sort of stuff does grind my gears because I'm like, it's not really. I mean, I go to the beach with my wife and kids. Yeah. You know, and we have barbecues on the beach and beers and but we always take it home. Just find a local bin it's not hard to do, and it's just
Yeah.
like, come on, guys,
I never thought I'd be
look
discussing
after the country you live in. You know.
No, I do get you, yeah, because I mean, I never thought I'd be talking about this on a podcast, but,
No, but
it's a national thing, isn't it?
You can tell by
know?
George like there, he's
It's
just pretty
annoying.
peed off about it.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. Yeah, which is
Yeah,
cool. Fingers crossed he comes on. Who else did you get on the voice notes?
So Tony has fished.
He has
He dabbled
fished.
in it years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah.
but it's not really his thing. So
He's pretty clean cut, isn't
yeah,
he?
he actually. I told him he's like my best mate, and I told him about this podcast. If sort of
Yeah,
of an idea, and he sent in this off his own back, and this is just a funny story of a story at work. Basically, he started
Okay.
talking to the tradies. So any
Because
tradies out there,
is he a
can get
carpenter? He's a
involved.
carpenter, isn't he?
He's a carpenter, but
Yeah,
he
yeah,
was
yeah.
he worked in the motor industry, but
And before that, he had a background in graphic design and stuff.
Graphic
So I
design,
know he's
so-
got an eye for detail with stuff.
yeah, and he was
Yeah.
he used to work on body
Okay.
work of cars, but he had enough of that. And the last couple of years, he's trained him, or basically trained as a carpenter, and he's doing
Okay.
really well. But
What
he
you're gonna
sent in
say?
this.
What you?
He sent in this.
Yeah, let's have a listen.
It's not funny.
Oh, wait, let me just
When
start that
somebody-
again.
When you said bodies, I thought you were going to say he works in a crematorium.
No,
I was like, that is a job.
no,
Jeez.
no. He's just a tradie.
Okay.
But he just sent in this because he thought it would be quite funny to, as I'm trying to reach out to the general public and tradies as well.
Alright guys, so, being a tradie, I've only been a tradie for 3 years, and the one thing I have noticed is when you hurt yourself, it's not funny. But when somebody else hurts themselves, it's really funny. But you're not allowed to laugh. So, we were on a job once, and there was a bunch of us all standing on the driveway in a sort of circle, just having a conversation. And one of the blokes there wanted to jump up on top of like a bin shed. It must have been about 6 foot high because he wanted to check some guttering around the side of the building or something. And all of the actual wheelie bins themselves weren't inside of the bin shed. They were sort of scattered around it. And once he was done checking out what he needed to check, he went to get down off of this bin shed, tripped, ends up falling off the side of it, and people's elbowing a wheelie bin straight on the top. He goes straight through it and snaps this bin
Honestly.
clean in half, all the way
Listen.
to the ground. And as soon as he hits the ground, he was back up again on his feet and come and joined our circle of conversation with his hands on his hips like He-Man, engaging in conversation, pretending like absolutely nothing had just happened. All the time, he's got a white t-shirt on, he's got blood coming through the t-shirt on his back and all down his arm, and he's completely ignoring it as if
It's
nothing's
normal.
happened.
Yeah.
And we're all
Trying to
stood
brush it
there
aside.
in complete shock, wondering if anyone's going to address the elephant in the room, that he's just people's elbowed a bin, and now he's standing up, bleeding out of his t-shirt as if
God.
nothing's happened. I mean, I wanted to laugh so much, and you could clearly see that he was in pain, whilst also trying to look so engaged in the conversation that we were having.
So
yeah,
engaged.
it was brilliant. But I've never ever seen an adult human being take out a wheelie bin before, and that will stay with me forever. Yeah, that's my story. Have a good one, boys.
Right.
What a legend.
That is good.
It's good, innit?
That is good.
God
I
bless.
wonder
Tony.
where he was going with that. I thought he was going to fall through
Yeah,
or something.
don't get me wrong. I listened to it beforehand just to check
You
that it
know,
wasn't going to be
yeah.
outrageous. But yeah, even listen to it again. It's just gold, isn't it?
That's
Just
so
good.
good. I mean, that's the
The
story.
fact that he got up and was just like trying to brush off that he's just fallen off a 6 foot roof into a wheelie bin and snapped it, and then he's got blood coming out of his white t-shirt. He's just like, do 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 do.
No,
Like, nothing
all right,
happened.
guys. Yeah.
Honestly, I just can't wait to hear the stories that are going to come in from fishing, and at work, because I've got loads. I know my friends have got loads, and I know the general public have. Like I say, I've met some right characters
Yeah.
at work
Yeah.
and at fishing, and if we can unite everyone
Yeah.
and get everyone involved, it's gonna be awesome, man.
Mate, it's going to be great. It's going to be really good. And I guess that sort of brings us to a close, really. Sort of run through a bit of background on you, launching the new podcast, all that type of
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
which is cool. And yeah, just want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
Best of
having
luck
me,
with
mate.
it. Obviously, I'll be producing it, so I'm going to be here
Yeah, man.
making it happen.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be pretty cool. And
Shout
if you
out
get
to
more
you.
stories like Tony's, man, I think there's some gold in there. It's going to be pretty good.
I'm excited. Just
Definitely.
buzzing to get it off well, up and running.
Yeah, get it going. It's worth a go, you know. So yeah, thank you, and look forward to episode 2.
Yeah, man. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Yo.